BeBold4 preliminary findings. Overview of BeBold4 project. So the BeBold4 project was initiated to develop a deeper understanding of how Wisconsin can best address the state's workforce challenges. The effort began in May, and since that time we have successfully completed Stage 1, baselining activities, and we are currently in the process of socializing results. In Stage 1, the primary objectives were to 1. Understand the economic value of key worker archetypes, such as advanced degree nurses and welders. Step 2. Establish an aligned fact base on current state workforce issues and remediation efforts. And Step 3. Develop a set of case studies of workforce programs from other states and regions that we can reference in designing new programs. So moving forward, through the feedback we received during socialization efforts, we will be able to develop a number of potential scenarios covering different types of workforce programs and model the costs and benefits of each scenario. So our focus for today is to share the results of our archetype development exercise and review the approach we took to prioritizing and evaluating programs that have been established in other states. We will then discuss the case studies we developed to spotlight some of the more representative or distinguished existing programs that we identified. Our hope is that you can use these outputs as a point of reference and then provide us with your thoughts and insights on what types of workforce programs might be most effective for addressing Wisconsin's talent shortage challenges. Step 1, evaluating archetypes. Archetype profile questions. So let's start off by developing a deeper understanding of each of the 3 worker archetypes we developed. We arrived at these archetypes by first focusing on 3 key sectors, which were healthcare, advanced manufacturing, and STEM. Then we determined the highest demand skill sets and talent profiles in each of these sectors based on conversations with Wisconsin business and community leaders. For healthcare, we spoke with hospital administrators, educators, and nursing association leadership to understand the most critical talent shortfalls in the nursing field across the state in terms of professional roles, job titles, and skill sets. These discussions highlighted the ADN nurse as a worker profile that is in critically short supply in Wisconsin and has consistently been so over recent years. For advanced manufacturing, our conversations with business leaders helped us understand a shortage of worker candidates for welding positions. And finally, for STEM-related fields, our conversations with executives from the biotech and IT sectors helped us identify a high need for additional work resources in internal IT roles, such as internal network engineers. So for each of these 3 archetypes, we then developed an analysis on the economic impact of each additional worker in terms of direct, indirect, and induced impacts. Economic impact analysis, ADN nurse, healthcare archetype. So starting by looking at the economic impact for ADN nurses, we see that the income level for this archetype starts at around $58,000 and rises to $113,000 in year 15. If we account for indirect and induced impacts, each ADN nurse allows for $96,000 in additional income and 1.85 additional jobs in year 0, and $167,000 in additional income and 2.21 additional jobs by year 15. So for clarity here, let's define direct, indirect, and induced impact. Direct impact here refers to the income and number of jobs for the ADN nurses themselves. Indirect impact refers to additional labor income and jobs created at vendors and business partners for the hospital. So for example, each new nurse is going to require equipment, which will lead a hospital to increase orders to medical supply companies, which may in turn increase hiring at these types of vendors. Induced impact refers to additional labor income and jobs created by local businesses as a result of ADN nurses' personal spending. For example, local restaurants or stores may increase hiring as a result of a nurse's personal spending. For welders, we see that the income level for this archetype starts at around $41,000 and rises to $75,000 in year 15. If we account for indirect and induced impact, each welder allows for $100,000 in additional income and 2.09 additional jobs in year 0, and $143,000 in additional income and 2.3 additional jobs by year 15. Finally, for network engineers, we see that the income level for this archetype starts at around $58,000 and rises to $121,000 in year 15. If we account for indirect and induced impacts, each network engineer allows for $88,000 in additional income and 1.68 additional jobs in year 0, and $168,000 in additional income and 2.08 additional jobs by year 15. So now that we've reviewed the economic benefits of hiring one additional resource for each of these 3 different archetypes, let's transition to looking at some case studies around workforce programs that have been implemented in other states across the United States, either on a state or local level. Slide 9, Step 3, Understanding Case Studies. Slide 10, Case Study Criteria. We pick case studies with an eye towards identifying programs with aspects that could potentially be replicated and modeled for use in Wisconsin. To select only the most relevant case studies, we use the following 4 criteria. Criteria 1, does it exist already? So we aim to find programs that do not have a significant presence in Wisconsin in order to bring in new ideas. Criteria 2, has it been proven to be effective? We wanted to include a strong sampling of programs that have already been demonstrated to have positive results and traction towards achieving the intended objectives since being implemented. Criteria number 3, is the program novel? Again, in order to bring in new ideas, we aim to profile programs that have unique or cutting-edge elements. Criteria 4, is the program highly competitive? What we meant by this criteria is that we wanted to identify programs that offered the most competitive benefits currently seen across the country. This allows us to develop a reference point as to what level of benefits is needed to attract potential candidates. So in total, these 4 criteria helped us filter through the 26 different workforce program types identified on the bottom of this slide. And through this, we were able to arrive at a final 10 programs that we felt were worthwhile to profile for case studies. The first 2 program types we identified both have to do with education. New Haven has currently launched a program that will cover up to full tuition for students who have gone through the New Haven Public School program. Eligibility is dependent on the number of continuous years a student has at New Haven Public Schools. The implication here is that this program provides an incentive for workers with children to stay in the state, thus serving as a retention mechanism for talent. If we look at the right side of this slide, the University of Maine flagship matching program offers to match other states' in-state tuition rates for students from those states. For example, it offers to match a University of Vermont in-state tuition rate for Vermont students who are applying to the University of Maine. The program has been in place for only 2 years, but already the University of Maine has seen their out-of-state enrollment levels reach an all-time high. Selected case studies 2 of 5. If we look at the left side of this slide, the New York Excelsior program is another college tuition waiver initiative and offers to cover full tuition at CUNY or SUNY schools for New York residents. The interesting element of this program is that students who enroll in this program must commit to working in the state post-graduation for 4 years if a student is enrolled in a 4-year program, and for 2 years if a student is enrolled in an associate degree program. This program was recently launched but has been highly popular in its first year, with triple the anticipated number of applications. If we look at the right side of this slide, the St. Clair, Michigan Come Home program represents a more targeted local level effort. St. Clair County has been offering grants of $15,000, which is meant to be spent towards student loan repayments for graduates from STEAM fields. A, in that case, standing for art, in addition to the typical STEM fields. The St. Clair Selection Committee carefully evaluates each candidate's fit with community needs, and up to now they have used this grant primarily to target applicants in the education and healthcare field. Selected case studies 3 of 5. The Work North Platte program is another local level effort launched by North Platte, Nebraska Chamber of Commerce. This program offers to match North Platte employer signing bonuses up to $5,000 and relies on employers for marketing/communication of the program. The interesting element of this program is that employers are responsible for both performance monitoring and reporting, and also developing their own clawback programs if hired employees leave before an agreed upon period of time. If we look at the right side of this slide, the Live Midtown program was launched by Detroit in 2011 and provided down payment support as well as rent support for workers who moved to Detroit. This program is notable in that it was limited to employees of specific companies only, and these private companies completely funded the entire effort. Over its 6-year lifetime, the program was so popular that the target areas for relocation needed to be expanded to accommodate new employers that wanted to participate. Selected case studies 4 of 5. If we look at the left side of this slide, we see that the UC Health RN program was widely covered in the news recently because of the high level of benefits it's providing to nurses. Every new nurse hired by the UC Health system is now being offered $10,000 in relocation bonuses, as well as $4,000 in continuing education. Additionally, nurses are immediately being offered the chance to enter rotational programs, which can further increase benefits. The high level of benefits we see UC Health offering is related to their desire to target out-of-state registered nurses given in-state talent shortages. On the right side of this slide, the Energy Capital Co-op represents an early education family support program. Given a lack of birth through K education options, 8 North Dakota employers banded together to develop their own cooperative to provide early childhood education to employees, or rather employees' children. This program is notable in that it only required a $150,000 investment and 15 months of lead time to develop a program that could immediately service nearly 80 children. Selected case studies 5 of 5. Finally, we wanted to profile 2 recent state-level relocation programs. The Vermont Remote Worker Grant Program is offering employees working at out-of-state companies $10,000 to relocate to Vermont and work remotely. This program is interesting in that it is one of the first that we have seen to specifically target the remote worker population. On the right side of this slide, Rhode Island's Qualified Family Migration Program also has an interesting targeting strategy in that it is focused on attracting whole families with 3 or more members. This program is actually still being reviewed by the Rhode Island House Finance Committee, but has an aggressive goal of attracting up to 30,000 unique families with grants of up to $10,000 per family. We hope that these 10 case studies will provide a valuable reference point for you as you consider future state workforce programs for the state of Wisconsin.